So, hello, Larisa. Thank you so much for agreeing to share your experience with the world. So, in the hope of inspiring other people to do their inner work. So, I'd like to ask you, that was quite a few years ago when you came to see me, but what made you decide to come and see me at that time? What was
It was
happening?
quite a few years ago, but I think I felt as though I had been working really hard towards my goals, and I
Which was?
believed I wanted the most success possible. That's all I'd known since I was a child, but it hadn't happened, and I'd had a lot of what I felt was bad luck or bad misfortune or whatever. And I was sick of being resilience queen. I just wanted to succeed, just wanted to be free to succeed instead of being the one who's really good at coping and really good at fighting.
And can you tell us about your goals back then? What were your goals so that people will
Well,
know?
I was skiing competitively for Canada. And I think when I came to see you, I either was about to be cut from the national team or had already been cut from the national team due to taking a long time to come back from an injury. So my goals were to be healthy, but my goals beyond that, which I quickly realized, were to return to this circuit, this World Cup circuit after the injury and be world class. That was my goal.
So tell us a little bit, what was the biggest transformation that happened when we did the sessions together? What did you learn and how did it impact you? What happened?
Well, I think it was a huge education, understanding the heaviness, the weight of things that can happen to us that can impact us forever and ever. And so I think that education side and just having a conversation about the possibility that these events in my life could have put me where I am today. Letting go. There was a big letting go piece that I think I forgave myself for the journey I'd been on or the reason I was on that journey. And then I felt like I got a whole lot more lucky after that.
Because what we discovered doing the work together is like you came to see me and I tested you on I want to win. And you would imagine like an Olympic level skier, World Cup skier, you sacrifice everything. You're a Canadian athlete, so you have no money.
Yeah,
Start
that's right.
becoming an athlete, you get no money, training all the time, no social life, all of these things, all these sacrifice. But when I tested you, whether you wanted to win, subconsciously you didn't want to win
Mhm.
because when you were a little kid, you would already be pretty good and your brothers were not winning as often as you and your mom would hide your medals and your trophies, so you had associated subconsciously that your teammates, even competitors, sometimes become siblings, so you didn't want to upset other people.
It's
That's
crazy.
it's
And
crazy.
yet it makes so much sense. And it's actually, I think, more common with Canadians than we realize because we're so nice and we say sorry about everything. But I think, that's where there's no blaming. I'm a parent now myself, and I think about how so many different scenarios would play out. But in that moment, when you asked me, I think, hell yeah, I want to win. Like that's so obvious, but for my body and for the subconscious, I was shy about it. I was not, I think ashamed isn't the right word because that sounds intense, but I was shy to be as successful as I think I thought I could have been, and I remember seeing a quote saying people are more afraid of succeeding than failing. And I thought, well, that doesn't probably apply to everyone, but I feel there's something there for me because of all the things that will come with a life like that.
You'd think it's not common, but actually, I was the keynote speaker for a coaching conference in Chicago, and there were like 350 coaches from all over the world. And coaches are about helping themselves and others be successful. And I talked about, the subconscious mind and being successful. And I offered that after my talk, if people wanted, they could come and I would test them. And I had at least 100 coaches lining up. Out of 100, there was only one person that wanted to be successful. Most people associate being successful with having people resenting us, and worse, being alone and hurting other people's feelings. A lot of us have that association. And it's called sibling rivalry.
Right.
We grow up like this. We're little kids, and we have a love-hate relationship with our siblings. It's fun to have someone to play with, but they're also in the way of us getting all the attention of mom and dad.
And there's a conflict with being a people pleaser and a winner.
Exactly.
You can't read the room and keep the peace if you're stirring the pot,
Exactly. But if I asked you, how would you feel if you knew that you won because someone doesn't want to upset your feelings?
Yeah, that's not winning.
That's not winning. That doesn't feel good either.
That's people taking a back seat. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the same thing when we hold ourselves back for others. It's like, I think it's actually in some ways disrespectful because we don't believe in them, that they're big enough to survive that. But I've done the same thing.
And it's almost arrogant. Like I've almost gone to the place of, well, it's almost cocky for me to think that I shouldn't try my absolute hardest to win, because if not me, then who?
And if you want Canada to be well represented,
you go
for it.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you have any reservation before coming to see me? Like, what was going on in your head before you?
No, I think I was so desperate, to be honest, and desperation was a really big word and really key component of that pivot in my career. I was so desperate. I felt as though I'd devoted like 9 years at that point, almost 10 years to the sport, and I thought I was doing all the right things, trying unconventional, I want to say, approaches to what I was trying to do at that point was completely on path, and there was nothing that was too out there or weird, like training wise, physical, mental, spiritual, everything was a possibility for me because I knew what I'd been doing. We can't expect change if we don't make a change. And I knew what I'd been doing, although it seemed like the structure and the ladder to climb wasn't working. It hadn't worked to what I believed somewhere inside me was possible.
Yeah. And like you said, like something that's not part of the norm. That's what the Heart Freedom Method, that's why I'm asking to do this interview with me, because it's not part of the norm yet. But my dream is that one day everybody will be able to do the Heart Freedom Method. That's why I created Unleash Your Dream Life, where I teach people how to use the Heart Freedom Method in all the different areas of their life. Because for me, imagining a world where people know that they are worthy of love, that they just need to let go of the stories they created, and because of that, they experience life to the fullest is the best feeling in the world. So I wanted to ask you, so what ended up happening after your session with me? Did you end up on the podium?
I got a lot of silver medals. I in a nutshell, I won. I totally won, because I think I'd won top 10 in the world at that point, but everything else was kind of 31st, 32nd. And we're talking about milliseconds here, but we're talking also about a huge change in capability and competitiveness. And I can relate it in ski racing when you're going 140 kilometers an hour.
Crazy.
Between pressing on the gas or pressing on the brake, or sitting back and not wanting to go faster at a speed like that. And what shifted for me was the amount of instincts I could all of a sudden use when I was racing, the amount of control I had, the amount of calculated risk that was now at play rather than somewhat rebellious, reckless risk. So a lot of things came into alignment over the next 3 years to place me in where I went to my first Olympic Games. I retired ranked 3rd in the world in my discipline.
That's amazing.
So did I win? No. Lindsey Vonn was next to us all the time breaking world records at the time. But I 100% won, according to my myself and the people that supported me, and that was an incredible time in my life.
Yeah, that's amazing, because the goal really of competing is to bring the best out of you, and being top 3 in the world, that's freaking amazing. That's
Pretty good.
What would you tell someone who's thinking about, doing this kind of work? What would you tell them?
The first thought is be open, but also, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? It's, to me, the stagnant, anti-dynamic, like same kind of day, setting the alarm, it was never going to do it for me. Even if I thought I was doing the path I wanted to do, what I would say to people is just take the leap of faith, have the courage. I also read somewhere that you have to have courage first and then you take the leap, not take the leap and hope that it delivers courage for you. And I think that this is one of those things. It's if nothing happens, then nothing happened. But if something incredible happens in your life, just has a huge pivot in not a magical or it could have those words, but it could just be everything that you've been striving for in alignment. And I just think, why not?
Exactly. Anything else you'd like to add?
It's interesting, I think at a time like this, we are, and when I say like this, the world in general has experienced a lot of volatility, and we are generally happier being guided, told what to do, or at least given some boundaries. But I think this is one of those things that there's a lot of security in being able to live from your heart and be decisive, because you know exactly which way to go. And there's a lot of power in that right now. And yeah, I think there's lots of potential for people. It's just whether they can take that step and just try.
Commit to themselves, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, great. Thank you so much, Larisa. I really
It's my pleasure, Lee.
the time and sharing with others so that we can inspire them. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.